Hi, I'm Thomas Bayne, and my film is Washed Up.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed your film. I watched it with, I have as of yesterday, an 18-year-old son. He just turned, he turned 18 yesterday. So we spent part of his birthday watching your film, which he loved. He wanted to see it again.
I was gonna say, I hope it wasn't a
disappointing
birthday present.
He wanted to see it again, and it's a gem of a film, beautifully shot.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I first want to start just with the story.
Sure.
How the story came to you.
Yeah. So, ironically enough, I don't think it's mentioned in there. It was actually most of that's a true story, not to me.
Yeah.
But I had a friend in Colorado who we kind of changed the elements of some of the background of why they were robbing the place, because originally the film was a little bit more of a comedy to start off, and it kind of changed in the production of it. But
it still has its
humorous elements. It has its moments, but it was almost the true story was a little too absurd to like be believed. Basically, he was finishing up community college for a degree in criminology, and he couldn't pay for the tuition. I'm not making any of this up. And so they decided to rob this store, this car wash. This is where it gets like ridiculous. There was actually 3 of them.
Yeah.
There were 2 guys robbing the place, and there was one guy who was out keeping watch.
Yeah.
And this was actually part of the original script and had to change because the cost became prohibitive, because in LA shooting with police gets prohibitively expensive. But basically, it was a 3rd guy. He was in a fight with his girlfriend. He was like the lookout guy, and he was in a fight with his girlfriend.
And was distracted.
But then they started having phone sex. So the cop knocked on the door. Yeah. This was it. We were super bummed to lose this. And then when that went, like, we kind of had to darken the rest of it to like make the tone work.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically he got caught like this, and then they went on, and then they actually did, like the bags actually did break.
Yeah.
In the real robbery, and they actually did like make a homemade grappling hook, and like, it was all this like just ridiculous stuff.
So you kept those elements, which were great. I mean, there were those moments of humor, and I could, so 2 different demographics in my household watching it last night. It landed with me as a 53-year-old, and it landed with the 18-year-old.
Okay, well, there we go. That's great.
Both the grappling hook. Why you keep how long are you going to swing the thing? To that, so the expectation of these movies, and which I was really happy to see you flip it on its head, is the guy who articulates one last crime, one last thing at the pregnant partner. That's the one who's in the back of the car, leaving, right? But it couldn't be that, because we've seen that story. But you're still. At least the dramatic tension for me as a viewer is you're just waiting for that moment, and then it doesn't happen. Talk about how the actors related to each other, and kind of building their characters that way, and then to allow for kind of the flip in the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of built upon this idea of like I had a friend like this kind of. In high school, not necessarily that toxic, but I had a friend who was like a really good friend, but he was kind of a dick, and like he was just, you had that like that older brother friend that was kind of like constantly like pushing you, and so it was kind of based on that idea of like what happens if you're trying to like have a new life and leave it behind, but sort of this like found family.
There's
loyalty there, but you've also like you begin to recognize like I can't stay here anymore.
Right.
And then the actors themselves. I had them, I mean, they met, they got on really well. I ended up I think their first assignment is like before we went, I was like, go to a bar, and I want you guys just like hang out and get like, just like get drunk, like close the bar out, we'll pay for it. So we did that, and then they came back, and like by the, like that, they were kind of like, had this sort of like banter that was started to build, and that felt really good, and we just kind of like built on that we did a fair amount of rehearsal on that, and kind of like.
It definitely was authentic. I mean, you felt like they had known each other for a long time, and you felt the difficulty of the one wanting to break away, and you felt the kind of the jealousy of the other. Why would you want to leave this? The lighting was interesting to me. Again, and to John too, my son. He was like, ask him about the lighting. There are times where, especially when the two are talking.
We had like a pretty clear like red-blue thing going on between the two of them. So we were trying to like coat them in different colors, and actually, as he moves, he kind of shifts out like into a different color away. At the end of that like last scene when they're in the alleyway, I guess. But I was actually really, really lucky. The DP on that, Leo Behrens, is really, really spectacularly talented. He's a Norwegian guy. He was in school with me. He actually won for a different film. He had this really beautiful kind of like experimental art film called Skin.
Okay.
He's a trans man, and it was kind of this experimental art film about the trans experience. But he actually won the student Oscar for cinematography for that.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really beautiful. But he has this incredible. He's very attractive just in all of his work to this kind of like sort of like cold neon look, and I've never seen someone work with light in that way. I mean, it
was stunning.
Yeah, it's just like truly talented guy.
So what do you take from this experience? It's a student film, but it's more than. I mean, it's an amazing film, and so how do you, when what do you take from this experience to your next project?
Boy, honestly, I'd love to make it a bit funny. I think it was a really interesting project to like live within because it got. First of all, thank you so much for saying that. But
sure.
I think it was interesting like living with. I think there's an experience when you're making a film, and obviously there's this like huge both financial but like time investment and emotional energy and all this kind of stuff. And I think that was an interesting one to sort of live in that place with those people for that long was a little bit exhausting. It was cathartic in some ways, but I think knowing that we can go there and you can kind of like take that level of intensity and also to like, I guess bring a bit of like lightness would be like what I would love to do with the next one. But I mean, honestly, I'm just so grateful for the team that I had, and I learned so much from all of them, and it felt like really wonderful to.
Everyone worked well together, but you're right. I think your own emotional well-being, especially if you're dealing with difficult material.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like a growth process for a lot of people. Like, obviously, we care. I'm sure there's postcards of films over here. I'm sure everyone cares so much. But at a certain point, you're like, I need to learn how to do this without
being totally consumed.
Totally consumed by it. Yeah, but I think people struggle with that their whole careers. So.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the award. I hope you have a great experience here. I know you will have a very receptive audience. This little festival brings together a community and people from all around who just throw themselves into the work that you're sharing with us. So thanks.
Thank you.